Okay, I want you to picture something. It's maybe 11:00 p.m. on a Friday night back in like 1999.
Mm.
You're on the carpet, the TV is glowing, you've just watched something really loud like Dexter's Lab or Ed and Eddie.
Total chaos. Sugar rush energy.
Exactly. And then the screen just goes dark, the
Mm.
sound drops out, and you're just looking at this one farmhouse in the middle of a beige nothing.
It was so jarring. Even as a kid, you just knew, okay, the whole vibe just shifted. The air left the room.
It did. It felt desolate. It felt wrong. We are, of course, talking about Courage the Cowardly Dog, and I think for a lot of us, that show is just this fever dream in our
A
memory.
mix of like weird CGI and whispering and a screaming pink dog.
Totally. But going through the huge stack of research we've pulled for today, it turns out our childhood instincts were spot on. This was never just a weird cartoon.
Oh, not at all. It's actually, if you dig in, a masterclass in psychological horror and existentialism of all
Hey.
things.
So today, we're doing a deep dive into John R. Dilworth's creation. Our mission here is to get past the nostalgia. We want to understand the mechanics of the horror. We have notes on everything from the in-universe lore, which is surprisingly tragic,
Oh, it's brutal.
to the psychological theories that explain why this dog is just constantly on the verge of a complete breakdown.
And that really is the key, isn't it? We all remember the monsters, return the slab.
Ugh, don't even say it.
But the sources we looked at suggest that Courage is really a very sophisticated study in trauma, in abandonment. It's probably one of the darkest things ever actually marketed to children.
Which begs the question, how on earth did this get made? But before we get to the real world stuff, let's just ground ourselves in the story. Because I think most people miss that Courage's behavior isn't just a gag. He's not just scared for a laugh.
Right. The title is Courage the Cowardly Dog, but that cowardice is really a symptom. The in-universe backstory. Honestly, it's devastating. It totally reframes the series from comedy to, well, tragedy.
This is the mad veterinarian incident, right? I read this in the notes and my jaw just dropped.
That's the one. We see in a flashback, Courage was born, a totally normal, happy puppy. He had a mom, a dad. The world was safe.
Mm-hmm.
And he gets his head stuck in a fence or something minor, and his parents take him to a vet.
A place you're supposed to feel safe. A figure of authority.
Precisely. But this vet is, well, he's a complete lunatic. He has this secret plan. And he abducts Courage's parents right in front of him.
And he doesn't just, like, send them to the pound?
No. He stuffs them into a rocket ship and launches them into outer space.
It's so absurdly cruel, just abstract in its evil.
It is, but think about that from a puppy's perspective. Your entire support system is just violently ripped away and sent somewhere you can never, ever reach. The research really emphasizes this. The one event just shattered Courage's psyche. It's the root of everything.
So all his hypervigilance, the shaking, the screaming when a stranger knocks on the door.
He's not being irrational. He's having a flashback.
He's a trauma survivor.
He is a survivor of severe childhood trauma. He learned, at the worst possible time, that safety is an illusion and strangers can take your family away forever.
That makes the whole thing so much heavier. He's not a chicken. He's got complex PTSD. And that leads to the second biggest moment in his life, right? The rescue.
He's left all alone in an alley, crying,
Yeah.
and Muriel Bag finds him.
The heart of the show, the absolute soul.
She really is. The notes all call her the emotional anchor. This sweet, elderly Scottish woman who just picks him up, gives him a home, and fills that void. And this is so crucial to understand. Courage isn't fighting to save the world. He couldn't care less about the world.
He's fighting to save her.
Exclusively. If he loses Muriel, he's reliving that original trauma all over again. So for him, the stakes are always, always apocalyptic. If the monster gets Muriel, his world ends. Again.
But you can't talk about that household without talking about the third leg of the stool, the cause of, I'd say, half his stress, Eustace Bag.
Ugh. He's just as complicated. Or maybe he's just really simple in a very dark way.
He's the husband, the farmer, but he just creates this hostile environment at home. We all know the line.
Stupid dog, you made me look bad.
And that giant green ooga booga mask he uses to scare him.
Just for fun.
Right. He actively torments him.
And in the analysis in the sources is so interesting here. It frames Eustace as the embodiment of domestic abuse and neglect. Muriel is unconditional love, but Eustace is the cruelty of the world inside your own home.
It's basically gaslighting, isn't it? Courage sees a real monster, he tries to warn them, and Eustace just calls him stupid.
Or locks them in a closet, yeah. So you have this dual threat. There's the horror outside the door, and then the internal horror of a guardian who just hates you.
Yeah.
And all of this happens in a place that just amplifies the isolation. We talk about nowhere.
The setting is its own character. Nowhere, Kansas.
It's just so visually distinct. It's not a pretty farm, it's a void. The ground is this flat, beige, almost skin-like texture, and the sky is this oppressive purple.
It feels like they're the last three people alive, like they just fell off the edge of the world.
And that's the whole point. The sources call it a limbo. It's total isolation. There are no neighbors, no cops, no help is ever coming. So when something knocks on that door, there is nowhere else to go.
Which brings us to the big mystery, right? Why them? Why this one farmhouse? I mean, one week it's a space chicken, the next it's a sentient puddle, then a giant foot fungus. It never stops.
The notes have three really distinct theories on this, and they go from like the mystical to the deeply psychological.
Okay, let's start with the supernatural hotspot one. That's the most literal idea.
Right. This theory is just that nowhere, Kansas is a physically cursed place, like a hellmouth from Buffy or a thin spot between dimensions. Because it's a void, it just sucks in things that don't belong here.
So it's just cosmic bad luck they built their house there.
Pretty much. The classic haunted house trope. But the second theory is where it gets more interesting to me. This is the perception theory.
Oh, I've heard this one. The idea that maybe the world isn't as crazy as Courage sees it.
Exactly. We're seeing everything through his eyes. And he's a dog. Dogs hear frequencies we can't. They smell things we can't.
And they have no concept of technology.
Right. Think about a vacuum cleaner. To us, it's a tool. To a dog, it's a screaming monster that eats the floor.
So, when Courage sees a horrifying demon at the door, maybe it's just a really pushy salesman.
Or a burglar. But his trauma and his fear just warp that image into something supernatural. Muriel isn't oblivious because she's dumb. She's oblivious because she's just seeing a normal person.
That makes so much sense. And it explains why Eustace is always so angry. He just sees some guy selling encyclopedias and his dog is losing its mind.
It's a really compelling idea.
Yeah.
But the sources point to a third theory, the mirror effect. And honestly, this one feels like the aha moment.
This is the one that connects all the monsters thematically.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you really look at the villains in Courage, so few of them are just evil. They're almost all motivated by something.
Loneliness.
Loneliness, heartbreak, abandonment, feeling inadequate. The theory is that Courage himself is a beacon. He's this lonely, anxious soul sitting in a void, and that energy attracts other broken things.
So like attracts like.
Exactly. The monsters are drawn there because they resonate with Courage's pain. They are mirrors of his own fear.
Wow. That changes everything. It's not monster of the week, it's trauma of the week. It's a tragic meeting of broken souls.
Which brings us to the horror itself. Because, man, this show was genuinely scary. Not cartoon scary, like I can't sleep now, scary.
It was the visuals. They would mix media in this way that was so unsettling. You'd have the normal 2D animation, then bam, a creepy CGI thing or a live-action head.
That's designed to create cognitive dissonance. Your brain sees something that doesn't fit, and it just registers it as wrong.
Yeah.
It's an instinctive recoil.
We have to mention King Ramsay. I feel like everyone has a physical reaction to that name.
Return the slab.
Stop.
Yeah.
Seriously, I'm getting chills.
It's iconic. It's this grainy, off-looking 3D model just swaying in the wind, whispering. It looked like a glitch in reality. It didn't belong in a cartoon.
And then you get someone like Freaky Fred. He wasn't even a monster. He was just Muriel's nephew. But he was so
Naughty.
deeply, deeply unsettling.
And that's pure psychological horror. The threat wasn't death. It was just having your hair shaved. But the rhyming monologue, that frozen smile, it was about the violation of boundaries.
And the sound design. The show used silence so effectively.
That's such a great point. Most cartoons are just a wall of noise. Courage would have these long stretches of just wind. And that silence makes the scares so much more effective.
It really treated its audience like they were smart. The notes say parents were often scared, but kids were fascinated because the show never talked down to them.
Kids get it. They understand being small and afraid in a world that's big and scary. Courage just validated that feeling.
So who's the mind behind all this? John R. Dilworth.
Yeah, Dilworth has this very distinct, frantic animation style. Before the series, he made a short in 1996 called The Chicken from Outer Space.
It got an Oscar nomination, right?
It did, and that short is basically the pilot for the show. Cartoon Network saw it, and the series ran from 1999 to 2002. But here's the thing I found in the research that blew my mind. The show is semi-autobiographical.
Wait, what? The show with the space ducks and the angry mole people? How?
Metaphorically.
Yeah.
Dilworth has said that courage basically represents his own inner child.
Oh, okay. Okay, that tracks.
The show is an expression of his own feelings of anxiety, of being small in this huge, confusing world, and that feeling of not being heard. When Courage is screaming, trying to warn Muriel, and she just pats him on the head, that's a very real human feeling of helplessness.
It's that feeling you have as a kid where the adults just don't get it. They don't see the danger that you see.
Exactly. And that's why it hits so hard with kids. Kids are courage. They're small, they have no real power, and the people in charge often dismiss their fears. The show just said, no, you're right. It is scary out there.
And yet, for all that fear, the show has this really positive philosophy underneath it all. We have to talk about its definition of bravery.
This is the core thesis of the show. We think bravery means not being afraid,
Right.
like a superhero who's totally confident.
Mm-hmm.
But the sources argue that's not bravery. If you aren't afraid, you can't be brave. You're just confident.
Right. Bravery needs fear to exist.
Exactly. And that's why Courage is the bravest character on TV, because he is the most afraid. He is terrified. Every single time he's shaking, he's crying, he wants to run. But he never does.
He stays.
He stays. He acts despite the fear. And that is the only definition of courage that actually matters.
And his motivation always comes back to love.
That's the fuel. He does it because he loves Muriel.
Yeah.
The show's ultimate message is that love is the only thing strong enough to make you face existential dread.
Wow. That's actually really beautiful. It turns this creepy cartoon into a story about the resilience of love.
It is. And it's worth noting how the show ended. Or, well, how it didn't end.
Right, just sort of stopped, didn't it?
Yeah, it ended quietly in 2002. No big finale where they move away or the monsters stop coming.
Which feels frustrating at first. You want them to be safe.
But thematically, it's perfect. The sources argue that is the message. Courage's life doesn't get fixed. The danger never stops. He doesn't win against his anxiety for good.
The struggle is constant.
The struggle is constant, but so is the love. As long as the monsters keep coming, he'll keep standing up to them for Muriel. It's a really stoic, realistic view on mental health. You don't cure it. You manage it, day by day.
That is a profound lesson for a kid's show. It explains why it has such a huge legacy. We're still talking about it 20 years later.
It's everywhere. The memes, the video essays. There was that Scooby-Doo crossover in 2021. The show lasts because it was honest. It respected kids' intelligence.
So if we zoom all the way out, we went from a vet launching dogs into space to a farmhouse that's a metaphor for the void to this deep philosophy on love versus fear. It's so much more than stupid dog.
It's a story about trauma and resilience. And it gives you a blueprint for survival. Find your Muriel, that person or thing that makes you feel safe, and you fight for it, no matter how scared you are.
I love that. And before we go, we have one last kind of disturbing thought to leave you with. We talked about the mirror effect, that the monsters are drawn to courage because they're also lonely and broken.
This is the question that sticks with me.
If these things are drawn to loneliness and pain, were they actually hunting courage?
Or were they, in their own twisted, horrifying way, just looking for someone who understood?
Maybe they weren't attacking. Maybe they were reaching out. And that's somehow even sadder.
It reframes every single scream, doesn't it?
It really does. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the weird, wonderful world of Courage the Cowardly Dog. Next time you watch a cartoon, maybe look a little closer.
Get curious.
We'll see you next time.